40 yards and 2 catches. So I would stay away from them.
That finishes our conversation on wide receivers. We're going to touch on tight ends for just a brief moment. I mentioned this at the beginning of the show, and this absolutely falls under my previous notes on wide receivers, but I love going after rookies. I love rookie talent because my friends didn't know who Kyle Pitts was. Now, Kyle Pitts was very hit or miss, but you could see the talent. And when you get somebody in a draft like Dalton Kincaid going to Josh Allen, I know Dawson Knox is there, but I'm going to be really curious during training camp, during preseason. I want to see how Dalton Kincaid gets into the offense. He may not be someone who goes off in September, and you may draft him, and some people may go, hey, that was a reach. But come again, late October, November, December, keep your eye on Dalton Kincaid. I think he's going to be a great steal for those that are looking at tight end position. I think he's someone to look at. The first player I'm going to talk about, though, Adam, we'll talk about it with you first. Darren Waller. He got traded from Las Vegas to New York. He joins Daniel Jones in the Brian Daboll offense. How do you feel about Darren Waller, his injury history? Are you avoiding him altogether, or do you think he could have a really productive year in New York?
I think he could have a productive year in New York. It's surrounding him now with the running game. I know Daniel Jones, again, much like we talk about with the dual threat passing needs to improve, but I think Brian Daboll's going to scheme with him. They got a receiver in the draft that they needed. They got Barkley coming back. I think they're starting to put pieces on offense together there to get it done. So I think Daboll being there can really use Waller to his advantage. Just like you mentioned, it's just the health factor of it. But I think if he can stay healthy, I think Daboll schemes him enough where he can be very productive this season.
What do you think, Michael?
Yeah, to me, this trade was a low risk, high reward for the Giants just based on Waller's injury. If he's healthy, he's going to be a top 5 tight end in the league, and it pains me to say that, obviously. But that was a great pick for the Giants, and he fits in perfectly with that offense. So it all really does depend on the health issues with Waller. And the thing with tight end in fantasy is that I don't overdraft tight ends unless your name is Travis Kelce.
Yep.
So I'm totally fine with waiting for tight end because for me, if you're not getting Kelce or Andrews, I'm fine with getting a Dallas Goedert or an Evan Ingram later in the rounds. So to me, I just typically stay away from drafting tight ends high. So if Waller's there in a later round, I'll snag him.
Couldn't agree with you more, Michael. And to that idea, Travis Kelce, I will treat like a top-tier wide receiver. His production is there. The chemistry with Mahomes is there. He gets in the red zone. He also is one of those players, and again, this happens for only maybe 10 or 12 guys in the entire league, where he can have a game and single-handedly win you that week. He can get 35 points in a week, and there aren't too many players who can do that. So I treat Travis Kelce differently. But for tight ends, I couldn't agree with you more. It's one of the reasons I actually like going after rookies. So Michael Mayer and Dalton Kincaid, I like both of those guys because they're just going to be decent targets. They're going to fill a role. They'll probably, again, be cheap or have good draft position, average draft position if you're in a snake. But, Evan Ingram for Jacksonville, that's someone I would look at. I always will consider, to your point, a Dallas Goedert. But I'm really not as high on the tight end position once you get outside Travis Kelce. I care way more about running backs. I want to stock up on running backs. And I feel even more that way about wide receivers because wide receivers are going through this transformation where they're being treated more and more like running backs and how they're being used in some of these offenses, whether it's in jet sweeps or in screens or other ways. So for so many reasons, I really like loading up on those two positions, and it means I'm devaluing the tight end position just slightly, not so much in the production, but in where I draft them. Michael Mayer with Jimmy Garoppolo fitting into that McDaniels offense could be an unbelievable fit. Again, you may not get great production out of that player in September, but if you're willing to hold on until later in the season, that could be a really strong pick. It might be a draft and stash kind of situation for some of these tight ends. I do kind of have my eye on Pat Freiermuth. I really liked him last year. He had good production, felt he had really good chemistry with Pickett. I'd like to see him take that next leap where he becomes even more of a weapon down the middle of the field. He is kind of He's big, he's physical, but I'd like to see him just generate a little bit more production. He could be someone I target. David Njoku, that's another one. He's really talented, and another year with Deshaun Watson might be someone to keep your eye on. In the comment section, Phil brings up Laporta, seems worth a mention as well for rookies. Yeah, he went higher than I expected. Adam, what do you think about the tight ends with Jordan Love? Is there either one of them that you would consider drafting this year?
So Luke Musgrave was our first tight end picked at Oregon State. But this kid, the second kid we took out of South Dakota State, just Tucker Kraft, I actually think he might be the better of the two. We took him in round 3. He's 6'4". He runs a 4.69 40. And I didn't know this about him, but apparently Alabama, he had a full ride to Alabama, and he turned him down twice to stay at South Dakota State. So if you're turning down Nick Saban to stay there, he must have some pretty good talent. So South Dakota State obviously is one of the best teams there in D2. But this Tucker Kraft kid actually, I think, to me, might be the better option over Luke Musgrave, who was picked earlier from Oregon State. But I think surrounding Jordan Love with as much, as he can is the best thing to do, like we talked about with young quarterbacks. So I think that Tucker Kraft could be a guy, maybe not right off the start, but maybe halfway through the year, you might start hearing his name more in Green Bay.
To bring up a tight end that I would keep my eye on, Michael Hayden Hurst. He moved. He's no longer with the Bengals. Now he's with Carolina. Bryce Young, I actually trust Bryce Young more than I would a lot of other rookie quarterbacks. And with a tight end like Hayden Hurst, I feel like that could be a really good duo. Again, not for drafting Bryce Young, but for drafting Hayden Hurst. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I actually do like Hayden Hurst a little bit in Carolina. Obviously, you got to surround a young quarterback with an above-average pass-catching tight end, and Hayden Hurst is just that. He proved it in Cincinnati. But another tight end that I'm actually very interested in is Greg Dulcich in Denver with Russell Wilson. How Russell Wilson's going to produce the next season, it all depends because last year was atrocious. But Dulcich is a very, very high upside tight end that I am keeping my eye on.
What about Noah Fant in Seattle? If we have Jigba coming there, they shored up the offensive line a little bit through the drafts. Does Noah Fant see more options now?
It's a great call, Adam, because I love Noah Fant. Like, I'm so high on him as a player. But my only concern is, how do you feed all of those mouths in that offense? And because now that they have 3 stud wide receivers, like, Noah Fant might be a good, like, tight end number 2 to draft, put on your bench, and maybe you put him in when someone has a bye week or if someone gets hurt. But I don't know if I can trust him as a tight end number 1 on my team, just because, again, there are so many mouths to feed in Seattle. Michael, what's your take on it?
Yeah, I agree with that. You do have to look at how many other receivers are on that team or even running backs that can catch in the backfield. So it really does depend. You got to look at the team themselves because when you look at, like, a Cole Kmet, is that going to be worth picking? Might be now, even though they did get DJ Moore. They have Chase Claypool, but he's not really that productive. But at the same time, me personally, I will stay away from Noah Fant just because the production hasn't been there, even with his time in Denver. I get you can talk about quarterback play as well. But to me, I'm always not high on tight ends in fantasy, as I mentioned. But to me, they could be interchangeable with the tight ends, especially later in the season. You always got to look at the opponents. How are they going to be with how many points do they give up against the tight ends? So I always later in the season like to stash a few guys or always just add and drop. So it really does depend. Like Mike Gesicki, how is he going to be in New England now? It really does depend on the quarterback play because there's not many other threats on offense to take the ball away. But it really does depend on just how many offensive threats they have on that offense.
This has been a fun conversation. We've gone through quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and tight ends for fantasy football. It is the first episode of what will be many around the fantasy football draft hype. Appreciate all you guys joining us. Make sure you go to our website, buttfumblesports.com. There's a link in our bio if you're watching on TikTok Live. Hit that link in our bio, takes you right to our website. Sign up for our free newsletter. Check out our content. Both of these guys contribute content. And while you're there, you can go check out our store and check out some of our NFL-themed merch, including a Mr. Irrelevant shirt featuring Brock Purdy, as well as Deebo Samuel, Jones on Jones Crime, the butt punt for all of those fans of the most famous moment in butt to punt history. And of course, we also have Josh Allen hurdling over a Chiefs defender. So go check out our website, buttfumblesports.com. The link is in the bio. You can also check out our content, a lot of blog material. So go check that out if you're watching on TikTok Live. The link is in the bio. Go hit that link. Takes you right to our website. Appreciate all of you guys joining us for tonight's NFL show. We are live every single Tuesday night from 7 p.m. Eastern Time. We talk NFL, all the news, notes, everything around the NFL so that you guys are both up to date and you can hear our takes throughout the season. Definitely want to give a big shout out to our contributors tonight. At Spotter AJ, you can find him on Twitter. Adam, you did a great job tonight as always. You can find his content again on our website. That's at Spotter AJ on Twitter. And also want to give a big shout out to Michael. You can find him at Mike Dobbs94 on Twitter. Mike, appreciate you joining us tonight. That's our show for the evening. If you want to check out the show, if you missed anything, you can find it on YouTube. It'll be posted in just a little bit. You can find all our content across all of our platforms. Make sure you follow Butt Fumble Sports. That way you can find all of our content and engage with us. We love talking sports, especially the NFL. We can't wait to do it again a week from now. We will see you then. Please engage with us. Please reach out. We love to talk to you guys. But until then, good luck with all of your teams.